Welcome to the CAD Corner. Today we'll be exploring how to construct a solid in orthographic projection, and also then we're going to develop that solid. A development is unfolded or unrolled flat or 2D representation of a solid figure. This could be a prism, pyramid, cone, cube, cylinder, whatever solid. It doesn't matter. They all can be unrolled or laid out to get a flat representation. Now, we also know that orthographic projection is a 2D representation of a solid, which means you're going to be looking at it from one of three views. Either we're looking at it from the top down, which is called a plan, front on, which is called the front elevation, or from the side, which is called the end elevation. These all can be expressed in CAD. So let's head on over to CAD where we can look at this. So over in CAD, we already have a solid drawn, so you can go ahead and copy this. Right, so basically you should have a cylinder looking from the top, which is a plan view. That is basically 50 millimeters in diameter, and then the height of this same cylinder looking from the front is 67 millimeters. It is cut at an angle of 45 degrees. By indication you see here the cutting plane, and then additionally there is a gap between it of 15 millimeters. Sorry. Right, so firstly I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do an orthographic projection of this drawing. So what I'm going to do is ensure that I am on my construction layer, and I'm going to select the line tool. I'm going to switch over to the polar tracking. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn off the dimension layer, because that was just there so that you could follow along and know how I got the solid. So I'm going to use my line tool, and I'm going to select this point right here, and I'm going to ensure that this line is going up at an angle of 45 degrees. If you're not doing it at 45 degrees, the drawing is going to be incorrect. So you click, you press escape. The length of this line doesn't really matter because I'm going to be trimming it after. So after that, I'm going to divide the circle into 12 equal parts. So I'm going to type div for divide. I'm going to select the object, which is the circle. I'm going to press enter. Then I'm going to type the amount of parts I want, 12, and hit enter. When I hit enter, the circle will be divided. Then I'm going to take the line tool, and I'm going to draw lines going across from point to point. So across like that, hit enter, cross like this. So it's just, so I'm just basically going across the diameter. So you cannot go wrong. So I'm going from here. It must go through the center. The line should go through the center and then come back to the other side. I don't know which snap modes I have on. Let me ensure that the right snap modes are on. If I'm going from node to node, and let me turn off endpoint because that may be causing some issues, right? So just ensure that the line goes through the center each time. Just watch the line to ensure that it's going through the center. Right, so just like that. So basically you have your circle or your plan view, or the plan of the cylinder, divided into 12 equal parts. So from here we're going to insert some text, and just use single line text. I'm going to click because I want the text there. The text height is 4 millimeters as specified, and the angle of rotation is 0. Enter again. So I'm going to put name this point here point number 1. Hit enter, press. And the name of the point is dependent or is set up so that later on, when I'm labeling my points, I know that I'm going to open my development at point number 1. So that is the reason why I started here with 1. All right. Press Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste, and I'm going anti-clockwise. And I'm going to renumber them anti-clockwise. Got this one right there. All right, there we go. So I'm going to renumber this. 2, enter. 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, 12, and then back at 1. So from here, I'm going to move this over here a little bit just so that it looks neater, looks more presentable. Then I'm going to select all of this text and just put this to the text layer so that later on, if I decide to turn off my construction layer, I am then able to see the text just the same. So I'm going to move this to the text layer. All right, so that is now set up to the text layer. From here, all I have to do quite simply is I'm going to draw lines through each point. So I'm going to project a line I'm going to ensure that my ortho is on. I'm projecting lines just straight down. So point number 6, point number 7 is already drawn, if you notice, because point number 7 goes all the way down. See? So point number 5, point number 4. So I partially have that line already. Point number 3, point number 2, and point number 1 is already there. So then I'm going to just make this slightly neater just by trimming. So right, and I don't have one of them there. So let me just draw that in real quickly. Trim. All right, so you draw all of these points going down. Then you're gonna do the same thing, and you're gonna project them across this time. You're gonna go across. So you're gonna project them across like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim. Right, after trimming, I'm going to use the line tool again, and I'm going to project all of these points going across. Press enter, project all of these points going down. So where they hit my 45-degree line, I'm going to just project them down. And you're using the intersection, right? So ensure that you're using intersection in your snaps. Let me do that one again. This one's a bit crooked. right? And I'm going to use the trim tool and just remove the excess lines that go below the drawing. And then now from here I'm going to project all of these points across. So wherever they strike this surface here, I just bring them across. So if this surface was at 60 degrees, it would be the same process. If it was at 30 degrees, same process. No matter the angle, when they hit here, you just bring them across. So this line, this point rather, at 7 came down, hit the top of the drawing, and it went across. So I'm just going to pick it up from here and extend it. Right? So we know that the drawing, the end elevation cannot be taller than this line because this is the maximum height here, 0.7, right? So I'm going to go across. So I'm going to go across again. This in here. And then in terms of, that is the base or the lowest part for the curve that will be formed, or the shape that will be formed when looking from the end. So this is the lowest point. This is the highest point of the drawing in complete height of the drawing, right? So from here, you can go ahead and trim all of these points that go over the end to make them slightly neater or appear neater on the paper later on in the printing. All right, so look now. So basically, we have all the lines projected going across to the 45-degree angle line. All of these coming down, hitting the surface, and then going across. So basically, we have brought across all the points. And the important thing to remember is that when you're looking in the plan, point number 7 here is the same thing as point number 7 here on the front elevation. So you're just bringing them across and then connecting them. So if you trace it, point 7 goes across and comes down to here. Point 7 is here, hits here, and it goes across to here. So you just have to use the point tool and then you mark where the points are going to be formed out. So point 1 goes across, hits and comes down. Point 1 comes down all the way to here and goes across. So you see point 1 is down here. See? So basically you have the highest and the lowest point. If you should try to find the width, point 4 comes all the way down and it goes across. And point 4 comes all the way across. So point 4 is here, over this corner here. And it's the same for point 10. 10 comes all the way down, hits there and comes across. 10 comes all the way down, and so we know the boundaries. So we have the boundaries for the outside, right, of the shape. So all I have to do now is plot the other points, right? So if you notice, point 3 and point 5 are on the same line. They come across, hit and come down, right? So they come across here, they hit and they come down here. So if you take point 3 though and you trace it, you realize that it goes down here. So this is point 3 here, right? If you take point 5, it come down to here, hit there, right? So point 5, point 3, so this comes down, see? Comes across, and it matches back with this here. So this is point 5, see? So basically, all you have to do is follow and trace the line. So if you follow this part, it go up. And this is point 2 and point 6, so you can see that. And then basically you realize the trend. You should realize a pattern. See? They just connect and meet. Right? So if you look at it now, you can basically see the pattern forming. So I'm gonna go ahead now and use the spline tool. Right? And I'm going to switch to my outline layer. Right? I'm going to switch to my outline layer. And I'm going to spline the shape. So I'm going to start there. That's the second point. Okay, my outline layer never got selected. So I select my outline layer, turn off my ortho, and I'm going to use my spline. So spline from here to here. Just connect all the nodes. Alright, or the points. Connect all of them. You want to ensure that you don't have too many snaps on, so that you basically don't, you want to ensure that you don't have too many snaps on, so that you don't end up wandering or straying all over the place. So now I'm going to draw the other outlines for the shape. So I'm going to draw from here to down there. That's the lowest the drawing goes, and it goes across and it comes back up here to that point. So basically we have our 3 views right here. What's left to do is to show that it was one entire solid, but this part got cut off. So to do that, we're going to draw a hatch. So I already created a hatch layer, right? I already created a hatch layer, and the properties are as follows. I use 3 millimeters, 0.3 millimeters rather. I use 0.3 millimeters for the line weight, and I added a yellow color on it. I make sure that it's uncontinuous, because the hatch is a continuous line. So then what I do is I select hatch, or you can type hatch, and then you just select the object that you want to hatch, and I want to hatch that spline, and it is still on the, it's on the wrong layer. So I'm going to change it from that layer and change it to the hatch layer. Right? So if you're on the wrong layer, you won't be able to edit the hatch like a regular line. You have to basically, you won't be able to edit the hatch like a regular line. You have to go to properties and then change this right here. Change the layer. Okay. All right. So basically that is the 2 views of the shape. So let's move on to the development now. The development is the unrolling of the object. So when you basically take, if you had like a sheet of foil paper and you roll it to a cylinder, and you could look through one end. You took, say for example now, you took a pair of scissors and you cut across that paper. What type of pattern would be formed if the foil went from end to end and you cut across at 45 degrees and unroll it? That's what we're going to draw now. That is called the development. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to establish how far out I want my drawing to be. So I'm going to switch back to my construction layer to do some constructing. I'm going to say I want my ortho on. Say we put it an next 15 millimeters away. Right? So I know that starting point, this is the starting point for my next drawing. I want it 15 millimeters away from this drawing here. Right? So from here, I can offset this line here out to this 15 millimeters, because I know for a fact that the highest point on my development will be, it can't go higher than this line here. All right, so I'm going to use O, enter. Offset distance is, I can select the input, or I could also, but endpoint has to be on for you to select the input. Right? Because remember that yellow line, it selects the input. See? So it takes a measurement, and it basically knows the measurement when you see the yellow line appear, or you could just type it in. So the object I want to offset is this line, and I want it to appear there. Right? So there you go. So from here, what I'm going to do is I need to find out the complete distance around this here circle. Right? So in order to do that, we know the formula for calculating the circumference of a circle. We know that is pi d, right? Or 2 pi r, right? Just the same thing. So pi d is, we know that the diameter is 50, right? And we take that and we multiply it by pi. Right? In our quick calc, hit enter, and the number that you get, see, it is 157, right, 0.07677, but because I have units set up to just one decimal place, it's gonna round it off to 157.1. So if I should take all this number and type it in, which you'll see, let's say for example, I'm gonna draw the line to establish the, because this now is basically telling you how far the shape could roll. If I say I'm rolling it along the line here, and I start at point 1, if I roll it out, this is where it will come back over here to 1. So if I type in 157.079633, right, and hit enter, what's gonna happen is that if you double click it and check the property, see, it rounded it up to the next significant figure, which is 1. All right. So from here now, I am going to divide this line here, which is that line here is the distance around this, which is known as the circumference. I'm going to divide the circumference into 12 equal parts. All right. So I'm going to divide it into 12 equal parts, just like the circle here. All right. So you can go ahead and use the line tool, and this is by construction method, right? I'm going to turn off and I'm going to just draw a line, any line, doesn't matter, right? At any angle. I'm going to delete that. I want to make it slightly steeper so that it fits neatly under the drawing, right? Then from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the divide tool. And I'm going to select this line as the line I want to divide. I'm going to divide it into 12 equal parts. Hit enter. Then I'm going to draw a line that connects the end point of the line to the starting point of this line here. Right? So when I have that line now, all I have to do is select this line here, and then I'm going to copy it. Copy, enter. And I'm going to select this as the end point. Go to the next point here, go to the other point here, go to the other point here, and then you continue going up the line. All right. Select each of these points, going up the line. All right. So when you have all of that, you can just trim all of these excessive lines that went over. Right. You want to ensure that in my snap modes intersection is on, because I want to find the intersection. I want to use the intersection of these lines and the circumference. All right. So I'm going to project lines going up. See, at 90 degrees. So I want the ortho on. Just click. Right. But there's an easier way to do this now. So you don't have to draw each one of them. You could do that if you want, but the easier way to do it is to actually just use the offset tool. So you use O, enter, and then it's going to ask you the distance. I'm going to input it by clicking. So I'm using the end point and the point of intersection here, right? Then it's asking me for the object. I'm selecting this as the object. Then I'm going to say I want it there. You could click it again. Let's keep on going. So you just keep on clicking until you go back to the other end. You could actually put in multiple, but sometimes multiple doesn't work out in these linear situations as you want. So that is a way that you don't ensure that you don't waste time. All right. So look now. Now from here, I'm going to connect the top of the drawing across. All right. And then I'm going to trim off these because I know my drawing cannot go higher than that. TR enter twice, and then I delete those parts. And then I'm just gonna simply take the same lines that hit the surface here. I'm gonna bring them across. So I'm gonna bring these lines across. Ensure that the ortho is on. If your ortho is not on, it's gonna give trouble. Right? It's gonna be trouble in the longer run. So I'm gonna bring those across. So you bring all of those across. TR, enter twice. Alright. So I'm going to put this line here on the construction layer so that we later on when we're outlining we can see what we're doing. So now I'm going to actually label the drawing and I'm going to copy this point number 1. Control C and Control V. I'm going to start numbering here. 1, 2, Control V. I'm going to turn off my snaps so that I can control where my points go. So that is 2 right there. Control V. 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Oops, went a little bit too far. Got carried away. All right, so 2. 11, 12. Now, some people may be wondering how I got to 12 and then there's an extra point. No, there's not an extra point. If you should take a solid and roll it, right, you have to start at 1 and then end up back at 1 so that the shape can close. Because if it goes from, because notice now, if it goes from 1 and it goes to 12, it doesn't end up back at 1, so it wouldn't close. So that is the reason why it goes from 1 to 1, and that is how you know that your drawing is correct. All right. So all you have to do now to plot the points, this is pretty simple and straightforward. Each one of these numbers correspond with a number here. So point 1 is somewhere along this line, and point 1 comes down to the lowest point and comes across and corresponds with the line point 1 or line 1. So I'm going to use I'm going to put some points now, and I'm going to specify a point, but I have to turn on my snaps, and then I have to ensure that intersection is there. So I'm going to select that as a point, so I know that's point 1. It's the same thing you're doing, coming down with point 12. 12 and 2 is on the same line, comes all the way down, goes across, hit 12 right here. See? It's the same thing over here now. So 3 and 11 is on the same line. You take 11, come down to here, goes across and hits this point right here. See? So you're just following each one of them. Right, and then you go here now. See, 7 comes down, comes across and hits 7, the 7 line. So you see, so it goes up like that and then it goes back down. Right, you can basically see the pattern developing, or you should see a pattern so you know that the shape goes up and comes all the way back down here. So from here now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna select the outline layer. And then I'm going to use the spline tool to create a smooth curve. All right. I'm going to use the spline tool to create a smooth curve. I'm going to select the nodes. Ensure that your ortho is not on when you're splining, as it's going to give you some very strange results. Just select each one of the points. and go all back to 1. Right, and when you get back to 1, you kind of want to ensure that you go a little bit past and you press enter. If you just hold it up like this, it will sort of distort the end. Alright, so you hit enter, and that's the outline of the development, of the top part of the development. So from here now, what you want to do is you want to use the line tool, and then you're going to draw some lines. You go back to that point there. Right, so if basically you should go and disable, so let's say we're on our 0 layer, and then you should disable your construction to see your shapes. That's basically the shape that you would see. This over here is the development, and this is our front elevation, this is our end elevation, and this is our plan. So enable back our construction lines. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to label the drawing, right? So I'm going to label the drawing. So I'm going to label the drawing. I'm going to use the text, multi-line text. I'm going to write development of truncated cylinder. Right, I'm going to enter. I'm going to put them in the center so it looks neater. I'm going to move it. I'm going to select it. I'm going to move it to the text layer, and then from here I'm going to also select the text layer, because all I'm doing right now is just adding text. So then move this above here, right? And I'm going to press Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste, and I'm just going to place this right here. It's sort of big, but can always edit it. So that is my front elevation, right? So that's my front elevation. Close the text editor. I'm going to make the text box a little bit, place it a little bit closer here. Oops, Control Z. I'm going to make it a little bit shorter for control. So I put it closer there, press Ctrl V. I'm going to press this, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, because it already has the word elevation in it. So it'll be much easier to edit this part here by just deleting front and typing end. My snaps are getting in the way, so I'm just going to disable snap for now, and I'm going to just sort of line it up, eyeball it. Alright, if I want it to be accurate, I could just draw a line from the end point of this, or in line with this, and bring it across, but I'm not gonna do that. Just gonna eyeball it. Just sort of bring it up so that it's in line. Alright, so you see, roughly in line. So this is the front elevation, this is the end elevation, and then up here is my plan. So I'm going to go ahead, press Ctrl V, and then this part here is the plan. I have to turn off snaps again, because object snap will always cause the your objects to want to move into a place where you basically don't want them. If you want to manipulate your text better or easier, it's better to just turn off the snap sometime, and then you move your object. So that's good. So that is my front elevation, my end elevation, my plan. This is the development over here. So I'm labeling the drawing, right? And then from here, I'm going to give a name to my drawing, or name the drawing. And then I'm going to go over to the paper space. I'm going to insert my title block. I'm going to insert a viewport, and then I am going to put in my projection symbol, and then I am going to set up to export this drawing, right? And get it ready for print. So you can take your drawing to the nearest printer to you, but I recommend that you print that hot off the press, because they have a pretty consistent or nice process that they use, because when you print the drawings, it's come out really crisp, and the paper stock that they use is good quality. All right, so go back over to the model space. So this is our drawing right here. You set it up, and if you want to know how to do that, you can just follow the video that I have on how to configure your drawings for export. All right, so I want to thank you for tuning in, and that was how to construct a development and an orthographic projection of a truncated cylinder in CAD. Are you experiencing any difficulties with the lesson, or did this lesson help you? Leave a comment in the comment section, and I will try to respond and help you. Right? If this video gets 30 likes, I promise I will come out with the next video shortly after this. Right, so remember, to get more content like this, ensure that you subscribe. Hit like on the video if it helped you, and share it with your friends if you want to help them. All right, it's Mr. Crooks. I'm out.